Hi, this is Dave. I just feel the need, like a lot of people do, to share some ideas and experiences and maybe a little bit of wisdom about how to navigate difficult times. We're in the middle of some difficult times. I don't have to dwell on that. And rather than belabor that point, I'd like to come right to the heart of the problem. And the heart of the problem is this: what do we do? What do we do? We need to answer that question in an immediate, urgent basis, like what do we do right now? What do we do today? And then we also need to answer the question in a strategic, sort of ongoing sense. What do we need to do this week? What do we do this month? What do we do this year? How shall we wisely and prudently arrange our activities, not just for this moment, but for the next few months? Ultimately, as we sort through our lives and as we think about our careers and as we guide our businesses, we need to confront and answer that question. Now, it's easy to be confused. First, we have all these competing responsibilities. We have spouses and children. We have extended family who are looking to us. We have neighbors. We have business associates. We have employees. We have customers. We have vendors. We have our communities, and we have the nation as a whole. And if we are not careful, we can flit from one responsibility to another without making any impact at all. In addition to all our competing responsibilities, we have all this media. The cable networks, the traditional media, the social media, and they're all shouting at us with everything from heavily tainted, agenda-driven broadcasts to silly solutions dreamed up by simple-minded social media contributors. It's easy to allow ourselves to just flounder around in the fog created by all these media messages. So I understand. It's easy to be confused. But before I offer a solution, let's take a little bit of a mile-high view. And the mile-high view is this: we have been here, or at least a very similar place, before. Now, as a nation, as individuals, and every level of society in between, this level of confusion and anxiety is not new. Now, it may be new for you. It may be new for you. And depending on your age, this may be your first encounter with life that has not gone according to your plan. If so, okay, then learn from wisdom from some of the people who have gone before you. But for most of us, this certainly is not unique. For example, personally, I have lived through many similar circumstances. In addition to 3 major financial reverses in my life, I have lived through the oil embargo in the 70s. Some of you don't even know about that. I lived through Jimmy Carter's melee and inflation in the teens. When the prime rate hit 18%, I believe today it's at 0 or 1%, when it hit 18% during Jimmy Carter's administration. Of course, the 9/11 attacks and the resulting tailspin in the economy, and this particular crisis today reminds me has lots of things in common with the 9/11 crisis. Then, of course, there was the dot-com crisis, and finally, the 2008 real estate crisis. I've seen my business so devastated that I had to tell my staff that I could no longer make payroll. On one occasion, I got to the point where I had a cast on my leg, had no cash in the bank, I had no prospects for new business, I had nothing booked. I closed my office door and burst into tears. So, hey, I've been there. Now, in all this, I've learned some lessons and I've gained some wisdom that may be helpful to you. I have some advice to give regarding guiding your family, shepherding a sales force, directing a business through these difficult times. And it's my intention to treat those issues in further posts, further podcasts just down the road a little bit, so stay tuned. For now, however, I want to focus on that part of navigating difficult times. I want to focus on that part of that which should be your top priority. Let me talk for a minute about focus. I just said I want you to focus on that which should be top priority. So there's a couple words I need to kind of define and dig into a little bit before I come to the heart of that issue. And first is focus. I was once asked by a seminar participant if I could reduce my advice down to one word. Well, I can't reduce it to one word, I said, but I can reduce it to three. Here are the three words. If I could take all my advice and all my training and reduce it to three words, these would be the three words. Focus, focus, focus. So what about focus? Well, what is focus? So here's a couple of dictionary definitions. Focus is, number one, a point at which rays of light, heat, or sound converge, or from which they diverge. That's number one. Number two, a central point as of attraction, attention, or activity. And number three is center of interest or attention. Now, we're talking about all of those. The easiest way is to think of a camera on your smartphone. When you take a picture, you focus on something, and you take a picture of that. And your camera, hones in on that, and you try to put it in the center. The focus requires something to be the center of your interest. So if you're going to focus and take a picture, you need to center on an object. In photography, that thing becomes the object of your attention and the point at which we focus. That principle, narrowing down on one thing that's the center of our attention, that principle applies in business and our personal lives as well. Focus requires a thing on which to focus. Without a thing to focus on, our efforts and those of our businesses will easily become prey to distractions, to limited attention span, to unlimited opportunities, to millennials thinking it's cool to multitask, and we'll lurch from one urgent attraction to another, expending energy and money with little return to show for it. When we focus, we stick to one thing at a time, and we apply our resources, time, energy, money, and emotions to accomplishing that thing. You recall a number of years ago the movie City Slickers? So there was the cowboy whose job it was to sort of shepherd this group of city slickers on a dude ranch. And at one point towards the end of the movie, I think it was Billy Crystal playing one of the city slickers, he asked the cowboy, what's the secret? What's the secret to your life? You look like you have it so in control and so confident and competent. What is it? I think it was Curly. Curly raised one finger and held it in the air. And he said, one thing. Focus on one thing and do it really well. Yep, that's what we're talking about here, focusing. Now, I think Richard Swenson laid out the case for it in his book Margin. I'm going to quote the book Margin. Quote, the spontaneous tendency of our culture is to inexorably add detail to our lives. One more option, one more problem, one more commitment, one more expectation, one more purchase, one more debt, one more change, one more job, one more decision. We must now deal with more things per person than at any other time in history. You know what I find incredible about that quote? Do you know when that was written? The year 2000, published in the year 2000. My goodness. So just imagine if that was the way things were in 2000, how much, they are a multiple of that right now. So it's easy to be distracted. It's the normal course of events to be distracted. You flit from one superficial use of your time and energy to another, and at the end of the day, you discover you've been incredibly busy and you have accomplished nothing of substance. So the antidote for distraction and the prescription for success is focus. So that's number one, focus. I also want to talk about, before you get to the response to the ultimate question, I want to talk about prioritizing. So, how do you decide on what you should focus? That brings us to that discipline of prioritization. Not everything that presents itself to you is of equal importance. Many of the challenges and opportunities are just not worth your time. Peter Drucker once said this, quote, "There is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all." Yeah, there are some things that should not be done at all. We have, as a generation, I believe, we have lost the discipline and the higher order management skill of saying no. No is more difficult and more challenging to say than yes. The solution to competing responsibilities and multiple opportunities and a tidal wave of things per person is to develop the discipline of regularly stopping and deciding on which you should focus on first. It's discipline. That means that you do it even if it does not feel good, even if you have other things to do, even if it interrupts your routines, you still do it. You understand that it is worthwhile, that it would produce a future of greater impact and fulfillment. Now, there's a whole body of knowledge out in the world about having to do with the processes and tools and techniques used to prioritize. I mean, we know how to do that. You can learn that. And we can learn how to do it both individually and in groups. I'm not going to dwell on that. For now, though, the simple solution is to set aside some time. And for me, it's hard to imagine much less than 30 minutes on this. Set aside some time on a regular basis, and in that time, rationally and mindfully think through the answer to this question: what should I focus on first? See, it's not a matter just to focus on something. You should focus on something which you have determined is the thing that you should focus on first. So you prioritize. You said no to a bunch of stuff. You've applied criteria, and up to the top of the list comes something, and that's the thing that you focus on. So these two things, prioritizing and focusing, are really connected one to the other. Now, in the systems that we teach, we teach salespeople selling systems, and we teach sales leaders leadership systems. We recommend a monthly review and a monthly prioritization session. There's just something about a monthly, formal, disciplined time to prioritize that fits with our schedules. Much of our life revolves on a monthly basis, and that just seems to fit. We found it to be, from experience with thousands of people, we found it to be a useful duration. 30 minutes to an hour once a month on a regular, formal, disciplined basis. That will keep you focused on the most important things. And you can, of course, repeat that process for smaller time increments, weekly, daily, even hourly. And in our time management training, we teach people to use a variation of that question several times in the course of the day. The variation is this: am I doing right now the most effective thing I can do? And if the answer is no, you change it and focus on that which is more effective. Let me repeat that, because some of you are going to write this down. Am I doing right now the most effective thing I can do? So the monthly formal disciplined prioritization time, the session every month, and then as your schedule and as your work allows and dictates, maybe weekly, maybe daily, maybe even hourly, repeat in a smaller sense. And of course, you can go the other way. You can always do an annual, and we recommend an annual planning session where you prioritize and focus. It's just that at this point in time, right now, difficult to think in terms of a year ahead. It's much more timely, much more practical and useful to think in terms of a month ahead. So a monthly formal discipline prioritization schedule in which you say, what should I focus on first? What should I focus on this month? And by the way, I use the word several times. It's a word that I use all the time, and that is discipline. It is a discipline. And I believe discipline, what's discipline? It's the willpower to do that which is good to do, what you know is worthwhile to do, whether you feel like it or not, whether circumstances dictate it or not. It's where you apply your will to the world at large and say, I will do this. It's discipline. In my view, discipline is probably the one thing that separates winners from losers in this world. Winners are disciplined, losers are not. Okay, so now I have said all of that in order to say this. Going back to the question I asked at the beginning of this podcast, what should we do? What should we do? And I'm going to, now that I've created some definitions here, I'm going to just modify that question a little bit, change it. We should really ask, what should we focus on first? What should we focus on first? What should be our highest priority? Here's my recommendation. Your highest priority, what you should focus on first is you. Now, before you accuse me of promoting selfishness, let me explain. Because of the nature of our difficult times, you must be at the top of your game. If you're going to be an effective leader, if you're going to guide your family, if you're going to shepherd a sales force, if you're going to be effective in your career or profession, if you're going to direct a business through these difficult times, if you're going to do any of those things, you cannot afford to be operating at less than 100%. It's just too demanding. The times are too challenging. If you don't take care of yourself, if you don't invest in yourself, if you don't ensure that you're operating at the best you can operate on, you will be doing an injustice to all those around you who are depending on you. Now, got it? So it's not about selfishness. As a matter of fact, it's an objective, thoughtful, rational approach to serving other people. You can't serve others unless, particularly in these challenging times, unless you're good yourself. So here's I'm going to share with you six ideas to help you focus on yourself. Number one, control the input into your mind. Let me repeat that. Control the input into your mind. It is easy to become obsessed and overwhelmed with hundreds of daily messages of gloom, doom, and pending trauma. And as those messages take hold in our brains, they produce feelings of fear and dread and anxiety. You will not do anyone any good if you are operating out of fear or anxiety. So you have to stop it at the source. And the source is not the emotion. The source is the stuff that causes the emotion. And that is the stuff, the input that you allow into your head. So you need to take control of that. Take control of what comes into your head. Don't watch the news. Stop, looking at the listings on your cell phone apps. The best way to prevent the negative from taking root in your brain is to substitute positive thoughts for the negative. So in other words, you'll struggle if you try to stop everything. It's far more effective to substitute. So instead of stopping, you substitute. So you find sources of positive, affirming thoughts. You substitute them in place of the time you would have spent on the opposite. I once changed the entire trajectory of my career by creating a pack of index cards on which I printed positive thoughts and Bible verses and then reading them to myself several times a day. I tell the story in one of my blog posts. So that's number one. Number two, surround yourself with like-minded people. The times are just too perilous to go it alone. On the other hand, you can't afford to waste your time with people who will bring you down or suck the energy and strength out of you. So the solution is to find a group of people who you can meet with regularly. Encourage each other, learn from each other, support each other. Now, most cities have such groups meeting regularly already. There are business groups, small groups, who meet together typically for breakfast or lunch, typically once a week. Those groups are all over the place. I believe there are multiple groups in almost every city. In addition to groups which sort of come up out locally, come up out of the woodwork locally, there are national companies who organize and administer local groups. Do a Google search. Off the top of my head, I can think of 5 national companies who do this kind of thing on a local basis. Just do a Google search for CEO roundtables or business roundtables or something like that. Chances are you'll find one nearby. Now, if you are a Christian, I have two such groups. I call them Christian Business Impact Groups, and I facilitate 2 of those. And we just happen to meet via video technology rather than live with each other. We meet via video technology once a month. And at the moment, and by the way, we have people from all over the continent who have been meeting together this way for years. And at the moment, we have an opening in each group. If you want to inquire about that, send me an email at info@davekale.com. I'll get back to you. So number two, surround yourself with a group of like-minded people. Number 3, invest in your own development. Now is a great time. Let me repeat that. Invest in your own development. Invest in your own development. Now is the time to take that management training course you've been eyeing. Now is the time to read those books that have been recommended to you. Now is the time to focus on improving your skills and gaining new competencies so that you will be more effective and of greater value to your employer or to the people who are looking to you for leadership. Invest in yourself. You are not finished. You can be better. You can accomplish more, do more, be more effective, but you got to learn how to do that. It doesn't happen to everybody just naturally. Trial and error is not the most effective way to learn some of these skills which have been proven as best practices. Remember Stephen Covey's great advice to sharpen the saw. The saw is you. Sharpening it means to hone your skills, advance your competencies, and gain new knowledge. Now, for salespeople and sales leaders, of course, I highly recommend a couple training programs which I author and we sell through the Sales Resource Center. If you'd like to inquire, again, info@davekale.com. So that's number 3. Number 4, exercise. Okay, I know you're thinking, Kale, come on, where did that come from? Well, the answer is, where did it come from? From experience. We have all read about the positive impact exercise can have on us. From my experience, a good workout session can clear your mind. It can flood your body with endorphins. It can release lots of tensions. It can fill your stores of emotional and physical energy. And for a lot of people, you get great ideas when you're exercising. Here's that word again. Here we go again. It's a discipline that will keep you at the top of your game. That's number 4. Number 5, okay, here's one. You're going to think, what on earth? I never heard anything like that. So number 5 is this: increase your giving. What? Yeah, increase your giving. So, I understand this is another one of those concepts that are outside of the mainstream, but you'll find it interesting and radical. In every one of my most challenging financial crises, I increased my giving. Now, that didn't necessarily mean absolute numbers, but it meant percentages. There is something about giving that helps put your situation in perspective. No matter how dreary and depressing your situation is, there are multitudes of people who are worse off than you. And when you step up and intentionally give, you acknowledge that. You take a life-affirming action that recognizes your place in the greater scheme of things and demonstrates faith in the future. It is a leadership action. It is a fear-demolishing, future-affirming action that reveals you as a leader and an influencer who has the strength of character to step out on faith and take confident action. Number 5, increase your giving. And number 6, now is the time, you ought to be doing this, now is the time to proactively plan for the future. Now is the time to make those proactive plans, to revise your personal and your organizational mission and vision statements, get that put in place. It's a time to visualize and articulate your view of what you and your business and your family, what and your household, what you can become in the future. There's something about a well-conceived, motivating vision statement. There is something about a well-conceived vision statement that attracts and compels people and energy, that says to the world around you, quote, it doesn't matter what's going on right now. This is just a bump in the road. We're going to become something significant just down the road a bit. Man, when you've created that vision, that picture, and you've communicated it to the folks who you can influence, you can harness your personal and corporate energy. You can harness your people. You can harness your emotional power to creating that future. You will have provided for yourself and those around you a vision of a future that will keep you positive and engaged. So how do you navigate these challenging times? Okay, a few concepts. Number 1, focus. Number 2, prioritize. Number 3, start with yourself. Focus first on yourself. And that means controlling your input into your mind, surrounding yourself with like-minded people, investing in your own development, exercising, increasing your giving, and proactively casting that vision for the future. Attend to that, and you're well on your way to taking control of the ship sailing through turbulent waters. All right, that's it. We're done. Bye-bye.